All right, so I think the stream thinking about things ready to go though. So hello everybody, ZardCast here, back at it again to give you another very exciting video. And for today, I have another episode of my ZardCast podcast, that being episode 18. And I got quite a bit of good, interesting stuff to talk about. I know the main highlights is going to be Metroid Dread, it's going to be Sora and Smash Bros. Ultimate. Got a couple of pop culture segments I got to talk about. My Dragon Ball Super over there because we managed to get a new trailer over there at New York Con over there that's been happening this past weekend though, and a lot of other stuff here and there and in between though. So goodness, I got quite a show for y'all tonight though. So whether you're listening to this on YouTube or listening to on the podcast server later on after the fact, glad you're here. Glad you're able to sit down and listen to me for all of the stuff I had to go through and talk about tonight. In terms of other people showing up, I think it's good. I have a sneaking suspicion it's gonna be a gut feeling. Have a couple of my members not feeling good or just unable to make it due to the fact of work and everything like that. So we'll be sad to kind of miss him though, because it felt good to have him back within the past episode though. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get up in it though. But before I go into like my news topics or my pop culture segment, I want to take care of a little bit of some housekeeping stuff with me and my channel and what to sort of kind of expect for this upcoming month, because we do know that as of now we are officially in, everything else in between. So yes, we are in that spooky season, and I do have some videos planned out and some streams of me going through and playing some games that are typically more so that are on the scarier side or more so on the spookier side. For the Halloween series though. So I got some things planned out. Not gonna say exactly what all is actually planned out, but I will go ahead and mention one of the things, and that being, yes, one of my new stream series, since I did just recently finish Metroid Zero Mission, it will be Luigi's Mansion 1 on the GameCube, because with me having the GameCube now and going through and collecting certain GameCube games, I'm actually able to go ahead and play through that entire series. So that's going to be my stream series for the month of October. And you don't have to wait too long to be able to see the official start of that, because that will start officially tomorrow. If everything goes the way how I plan it, I will start streaming that series for the most part every Monday, with the exception of I think the week that Smash Brothers comes out. I might actually switch up that day. It could be slightly before the Monday, slightly after the Monday. That date's kind of depending on whatever, because I think I got some plans around whenever that new character drops out though. But I'll talk more about it when we get to that actual topic though. So yes, expect some spooky sort of kind of streams, some streams, live stream uploads, or anything like that. And especially when the day of Halloween comes around that corner, I'll probably have something planned on that Halloween night as well. Maybe I'll just gather around with a bunch of my friends and I might just stream us just playing a bunch of random games. Could be scary, could be fun. It's just an overall party though. So that's just some things you can sort of kind of expect for the month of October. So just get ready, because there's gonna be quite a bit of content dropping on my channel from week to week. So it should be pretty enjoyable nonetheless. But with that housekeeping out of the way, let's go ahead and jump straight up into our pop culture segment. All right, so first off, you know what? I had to talk about this because apparently it was a few days ago where apparently I was hopping on Twitter and just randomly checking my stuff here and there and whatnot though, and lo and behold, I found out that apparently Facebook, Instagram, and whatever that whatever that green WhatsApp or whatever though that I guess Facebook sort of kind of owns, or whatever, all that stuff shut down. And it was weird because it was like all that mess shut down. You couldn't access anything. I remember seeing like a huge flock of people that was just trying to go over to Twitter to be able to kind of interact with people, say, hey, what the heck is going on with Facebook or whatever though. And it caused so many people to come over there to Twitter, where ultimately it just sort of kind of slowed down or shuttered things down even on Twitter. And Twitter was almost about to suffer for it too, but they managed to bounce back faster than Facebook. And it was interesting because I saw some of the tweets that were out there, and I know Sonic Q was sharing some stuff with me where it was like, hey, entire source codes were sort of kind of deleted or whatever though. And for a second, I was thinking, there's no way on this earth that somebody would have deleted something so crucial to Facebook where they wouldn't have been able to recover it as quickly or as efficiently as they possibly could, to where Facebook is just gone. Like it ain't coming back. I was thinking sort of kind of lines of that, but then at the same time, when you're a billion-dollar company like that, like you gotta have backers for your backers or something like that. Like that just can't happen. And I think it was weird because I don't know if it truly was anonymous, that one kind of special group or whatever though that sort of kind of did that, or if it was just some random old person that was just like it was an internal job or what. But it was weird to kind of see that because it's not every day that you get to see social media blackouts like that. Because I mean, this one kind of lasted for quite a while. It's kind of trending on Twitter and everything like that though. So yeah, it was just something kind of interesting that happened. I just kind of wanted to talk about it here just real quick though, but man, if y'all one of them big billion-dollar companies, I mean, get your crap together. I was almost in fear of thinking something bad happened to my Facebook page, which I had not posted on the thing at least recently, or not as much as what I probably should. I'm more of a Twitter user myself, but I was wondering if all my work that I normally put on my Facebook side of things on my page was gone, and that made me cause me to think about it. It's like, oh shoot, is that page actually gone though? But it's there, it's still kicking and everything like that. I do need to do some stuff with it though. But yeah, so that's basically all there is to talk about within that one little segment of news right there though. But let's go ahead and bounce over to the second one. And that being that we actually got a brand new trailer for Dragon Ball Superhero. I don't know. The naming of that movie this always gets me every single time. Like Dragon Ball Superhero. Like I don't know. There's too much super going on right there. There's too much super. I was like, I love some Dragon Ball and whatnot though. But I feel like the naming convention on that movie could have been a little bit better if you had to. I mean, just me speaking over here, just thinking out loud though. But anyway, we managed to get a brand new trailer for this movie. And the interesting thing about this movie is it's going to be all completely CG. We're used to it just being the traditional anime style where the frames are kind of drawn by hand and they kind of put it together in a slideshow, and we normally see animation for the most part done that way though. But every now and then you got certain animes that do it in CG. Typically more so those Gundam style, where you got gigantic robots fighting each other, or like or what's the other thing I'm thinking of? Like Godzilla like sort of kind of creatures or whatever in anime, like big old creature like things that fight. Those typically tend to be CG. And every now and then, like there's one anime I'm watching right now. It's oh gosh, what is the name of that anime? Literally, I'll have to pull it up on Funimation though. But anyway, most animes are not typically done by CG though, but every now and then you will have one that is. And it's interesting because this is, I think, the first type of Dragon Ball material I want to say that it's actually being fully CG like that though. But anyway, looking at some of the stuff, if you take a still image shot of if you take a still image shot of just one of these things, like for example, I have Piccolo here on the screen. It looks really good. It really does remind me of the art style that once we got within that final tournament arc within Super, it sort of kind of reminds me of the same kind of vibes of that art style right there. It looks real good when you just take one image of it though. But the big question with CG and stuff is when you start putting that mess into motion, does it still hold up? That's the critical thing right there. And honestly, I don't know. I'm not quite digging this one that well, to be honest. And I'm like, ugh, it kind of hurts me to be honest, because I'm like, it looks so good, just one image of it, but when you start putting it into action, which they didn't give us a lot of full blown scenes, because with anime stuff, at least very early with their previews, they don't show too much. They just kind of give you enough to kind of whet your appetite. But with this, it didn't make me feel entirely super well, just to kind of see it play out within actual motion like that. Because I don't know, it just seems a little choppy here and there. I mean, they still got more time to work on it, but at least for now, it's not where I kind of want it to be. And in terms of the plot, there's not too much going on, at least from what I'm able to tell from the first little bit of preview that we got, though. But it seems okay. I still will go and watch this movie because I just like Dragon Ball that much. But I might be a pretty hard critic whenever it comes down to this one because I don't know what made them take this interesting sort of kind of route for them to say, hey, let's do away the way that we did the previous movie, Dragon Ball Super, the one that featured Broly, and let's go a completely CGI way with it for superhero. I don't know how they came to that decision making on that though, but it's interesting nonetheless. So that's where I'm sort of kind of standing at right now. I honestly need to see another trailer with a little bit more animation up in there, with it showing a little bit more scenes, especially the fight scenes. Fight scenes could be pretty cool if they do it just right. Because if you do cool fight and CGI scenes, in terms of like the raw destructive power, like how like the dust can sort of kind of fly around and stuff like that, whenever they kind of smash up against like mountainsides or rocks or whatever, though, it can make sort of pretty cool, interesting effects. But outside of that, I'm very curious because Dragon Ball has some very intense, extremely fast moving fights. So very curious to see how well that will play out as well. But that's basically all I have to say on my pop culture segments right there. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into the gaming news. All right, so first thing off is, and this is sort of kind of gaming, sort of kind of pop culture. Didn't know exactly where to sort of kind of stick this off at, but I was like, you know what? Shoot, we'll go ahead and stick it in the gaming thing though. But anyway, Super Nintendo World for Universal Studios Japan has confirmed that yes, they are going to be adding a brand new park to Universal Studios Japan. That being a whole entire section dedicated purely towards Donkey Kong, and it's going to be expanding. And in 2024, that's roughly the time that they're going to be able to hopefully have this whole entire section complete. Now, this is interesting because I remember Game Explained and whatnot, though they were covering the whole entire Universal Studios Nintendo World parks since the first little bit before it was even built, when we first learned information on it, up until the release of the park itself, at least for Japan side. We still do have these parks coming to California as well as Universal Studios in Florida, which Florida would be the one I would go to whenever they finally get this thing built up and everything like that, though. But it was interesting because even back then they knew that they were going to try to put a DK World in what would be Universal Studios Florida, and now we got concrete information that yes, it is coming, but we probably might see it first on the Japan side. And I'm like, gosh dang. I was like, you know what? I'm like, I like Mario and stuff like that, but it would be really fun to just go through and actually experience a DK side of things, because with this, they're gonna say there's gonna be like a new roller coaster, there's gonna be interactive experiences and themed merchandise and food. And with the food, how many different things are going to be up in that part? They're going to have like banana related stuff up in. I'm not the biggest fan of bananas myself, but I'm like, golly, I was like, for anybody that loves bananas, I know you're going to go bananas, no pun intended. You're gonna go crazy over it, this part, just eating all the different food up in there, though. Hopefully they don't have too much banana stuff, at least for me personally, though. But it is gonna be interesting nonetheless. The one roller coaster ride that they're probably gonna have, there might be a couple, but I know one of them has to be a mine cart related thing. Just thinking back on Donkey Kong Returns and Tropical Freeze, those mine cart levels. I mean, shoot, or even the barrel ones where you have to like ride a rocket barrel, but especially the minecart ones. I mean, that was tracking back all the way back to the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy. So I'm like, that's almost guaranteed for it to be a roller coaster right there, just to have something minecart related. Now, in terms of other stuff, I'm not entirely too sure though, but I'm expecting to see like a good roster of characters. Like you got Donkey Kong, there's gonna be Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong. Those are gonna be the obvious ones. Pretty sure Cranky Kong, Funky Kong, all of them gonna be up in there. Then how many other ones will actually be represented from the series in terms of either the countryside, or shoot, you can even go back all the way to Donkey Kong 64. Like, are they really gonna put my boy Lanky Kong up in there? Like, I don't know if that's gonna be a thing or not though, but it's all interesting nonetheless though. But I think there's just a lot of different things that they could possibly do. There's a lot of different things that they can do within the DK section itself. And honestly, this got me really excited because it's like, man, in a perfect world, I would just love to see, we have a Mario theme park, the Mario side of the thing. We'll have a DK side of the thing. Shoot, could we get a Kirby side or a Legend of Zelda? Like, it would be nice to be able to see all of that play out and actually get representative worlds of all of that stuff as well. I was like, that in a perfect world, that's what I really would like to see though. But maybe they're sort of kind of working its way to it, because not only is Donkey Kong going to be added to the park as well, but they are making Pokemon collaborations within Super Nintendo World as well to be represented in some way, shape, form, or capacity. Because they actually had confirmed that yes, in the year of 2022, which is only a little less than a year away, they will have some kind of collaborations or something within the Super Nintendo world itself. So that basically means on the Mario side. So it's not like anything expensive like a whole entire Pokemon world, which would be really cool to see, different Pokemon kind of interact and different kind of rides based on that. You would think that would be the next thing after the DK section, if not like a Legend of Zelda related kind of thing, though. But it kind of makes sense though, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna be super big and expensive like the DK stuff, since it is having like a really quick turnaround with it being as as early as 2022. But I wouldn't be surprised if they take a little bit of that, kind of get its own little section, and then slowly but surely, as theme parks are, to keep going through renovating, adding, and expanding to it, where they could eventually have its own Pokemon area, and who knows what other types of Nintendo IPs are in there though. But I know they had little teasers to other IPs. Like I know there's like some small little Pikmin dudes that I think you can kind of spot throughout the Nintendo world right now though. So hopefully, here's hoping that they can kind of expand upon it and be able to add more, more Nintendo IPs to this over time. And please, 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 Universal, like, come on now, get your stuff together, Universal of Florida, because that's the location I would be personally going to go see this park. I literally will bring two suitcases, one to bring my clothes and one to bring back my souvenirs, because who knows what the heck I'm gonna buy at these parks and have to bring back with me as I fly back home or whatever though, because shoot, I know I'm gonna have to save like a hefty a hefty bit whenever I finally go to Super Nintendo World. I probably won't go to the one in Japan, though that would still be pretty cool. But you know what? I have to wait until the Florida place is actually built up. So that'll be the one I'll be personally waiting on though. But yeah, that's basically all I have to talk about within the Super Nintendo world, though. But let me know in the comment section down below if you're excited for the new edition of the DK area, or slash a little bit of the Pokemon collaboration that will be happening as soon as next year from Universal Studios Japan, though. But y'all just gotta let me know. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, because ho boy, yes, yes, Mr. Sakurai had his final presentation to introduce the very last character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and we were thinking about who the heck could it be? Could it be? Some people want it really to be Dante. I don't understand why. Master Chief. Could it be the Dooms guy, or could it be Crash Bandicoot? Which I honestly really didn't want Crash Bandicoot to be up in there either. I mean, shoot. I mean, everybody was sort of kind of speculated that was it going to be first party? Was it going to be third party? Part of me said, could it be Astral Chain? But then I remember back what Sakurai said, hey, it was hard for him to do like a switch out character, like a Pokemon trainer between what would be Rex and Metro slash Pyro. So then I kind of put that thought aside, and I was like, well, shoot, I don't even know what it would be a first party character, or would it be like a Gen 8 Pokemon, which a lot of people was like, please don't put that up in there though. But me personally, shoot, I got my Metro Pyro, got my Ridley, King K. Rool. I was pretty pleased with the roster already. So Sakurai could basically give me anything at this point, and I would have felt totally fine. But it was interesting because they actually revealed the me characters first for this presentation. I was like, oh, okay. And promoting a little bit more Splatoon, because we know Splatoon 3 is gonna be coming out next year in 2022. So, we got the addition of Octoling, and Judd was up in there as well. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Perfect sense. And then they hit us with Doom Guy as a me costume. I was like, oh shoot, that deconfirms him as an actual character. However, it is pretty cool that we actually did get to see some type of Bethesda, or technically Microsoft at this point, representation within Smash, within Doom. So that is one DLC outfit for the me I do have to go through and use my gold coins to get. So it was interesting to see those play out though. But then the time finally came for them to introduce the brand new character. It started off with a black screen, and then or black screen. We got to see the big Smash logo up in the sky, and then it sort of kind of fizzled out, and then they started bringing out all the characters within Smash, and they went back to their trophies, and it sort of kind of reminded me back within Smash Brothers Brawl, because trophies were like a real big thing with its story mode with Subspace Emissary back in the day. So I was like, huh, where in the world is Sakurai going with this? And then all of a sudden we get to see Mario, and it kind of steps off his platform, and I wish I would have paid attention to that little, sparkly little dust that was going up from the trophy as he stepped off of his little platform. Because I was like, that was a small little hint, that little glitter though. But I was like, okay, but I still didn't know what it was. And we saw like a little small ember that was out in the middle of the darkness. With some of my reactions with me and some of my other friends, because I did do a reaction, or I actually live streamed our reaction to the presentation, so that is on my YouTube channel if you want to check out our raw reactions though. But a lot of us was feeling like, hey, is this Dark Souls? Like, because Dark Souls, you kind of sit around that base campfire and whatnot though, and I was thinking, could this really be that? And then Mario walks up to it, and then he takes his hand, and then he just grabs the fire and just chunks it. And I'm like, what the heck? And it's spinning. It's spinning ever so slightly. It's just spinning. And then all of a sudden, the fire turned into a full key blade. And when I saw that, well, basically I saw it right there with the key blade though, but especially when you saw that Mickey symbol on the end, which gosh, I don't know how much Nintendo had to pay just to even put that little Mickey symbol at the end, because that could have easily been a Smash logo symbol. I was like, whole freaking shoot. Yes, Sora is finally in Smash. And lo and behold, he comes out through a keyhole in the sky and basically kind of saves everybody on that Smash roster because they pulled him out of the darkness. Hence why it was really dark, and it made sense for Sora to be added up in here within this sort of kind of scenery like that. We even got to see what Sakurai's reaction was like, huh? Like mentioned on some of his Twitter accounts and say, hey, even if you're not so much of a gamer or into gaming news a whole bunch, you might want to still want to tune in just to see what is going to be showcased off in this presentation. And now we kind of understand why that was the case because, you know, gaming or not, whatever, I don't care who you are on this planet. I know you probably heard of Disney, and hence Sora's a Disney character. So that kind of explains why Sakurai was saying, hey, you might want to tune in here, even if you're not so much of a gaming fan. I even heard, I think, within Disney World, I'm not sure if it was Universal, I mean, not Universal, whether it was in Florida side or if it was on the California side. I think they were sort of kind of live streaming that event, and they actually showcased that off whenever the Sakura presentation was going on, which is kind of interesting, but it kind of makes sense at the same day because while this is technically a character that's kind of part owned by Square Enix and Disney, I think most of the stakes are on Disney. Just Square Enix just happens to make the games though. But anyway, that makes a whole lot of sense right there though, and man, Sora, just looking at his presentation and what he's able to do within, how he's going to be able to fight and how he's going to be able to control and whatnot. It seems like he's going to have a serious aerial game. And I'm like, dang, I was like, man, I was like, oh shoot. Like there was one part where you can go off the side of the screen and you can hit the up B to recover, then hit the sideways B where you're able to chain it in like three different directions to kind of maneuver your way back over to the screen. So it's gonna be hard fighting Sora because his off game or his edge guarding game is going to be mad insane. It might be a little frustrating, and hence why I'm kind of want to see if I can kind of work with this character and see if I can get him up to snuff where he could potentially be one of my rotating mains. Similar like how like the second they announced Mithra and Pyra, I was like, I know I'm maining them and I can use them fairly well too. But yeah, I'm gonna have to try to get Sora up to snuff though. But between that and his combo set, how like you partial combo in midair before dropping to the ground to finish out the combo like that, I mean, just an impressive move set right there though. And then obviously he has the counter as well, and yeah, I it's all going to be about that aerial game with Sora, where I think he's going to have that major leg up on most other characters, though. And then obviously you have his neutral bees, where he's able to use like fire, wind, and ice attacks and stuff like that, though. So overall, a pretty well put together package, though. But then the songs ain't too crazy because people were thinking, were we gonna get any kind of Disney representation outside of Sora himself, or the stuff that Square Enix had exclusively created for those kind of characters? But the answer to that was technically no, because shoot, it would have been paying. Yeah, Nintendo would have been paying an arm and a leg to literally have all those other Disney characters up in this thing. And I'm like, ooh, shoot, yeah, they weren't gonna go that way. Plus, I guess copyrights and all that stuff. Like they might have to shoot. It might not have been a one time deal when they would have paid for Disney to be able to showcase off like Donald and Goofy in like Sora's Final Smash or something like that. They might have had to literally pay like a something like a per year or something like that. Who knows how Disney handles all that copyright though? But I know it's gonna be like a big mess of jambalaya for them to be able to figure that out. So it's kind of smart to kind of stay away from it, just in case if they try to keep porting this game over to future whatever comes after the Switch successor and whatnot. Though it's kind of smart at least for them to play their cards like this, so it'll be a little less of a headache to kind of mess with later on. Maybe you'll be able to make more ties with Square Enix or whatever though. But anyway, the stage is Hollow Bastion from Kingdom Hearts 1. And the interesting thing about Sora that I actually like is I literally bought this game, Kingdom Hearts, the all-in-one package where you're able to have like all 10 games for the PS4. I literally bought that back in August. I literally finished playing Kingdom Hearts 1 about 3 weeks before this presentation actually happened. So actually, I can check him already off the list because I already had technically played one of his games in terms of all the characters that are in the Smash roster that I played. There's like a few of them I hadn't done, like Terry, Snake. What's another one? Terry, Snake, Terry Bogar, and a couple other ones. Banjo, which I'll be able to play Banjo whenever they drop the N64 online and whatnot, though. But yeah, so I was like, okay, so that's a lot of cool, interesting stuff like that. I did love that stage because, man, the music right there, it feels pretty good because that's kind of close to the end game of the game, not the real last world or whatever though, but it's like the step right before that. So I think they chose a pretty good stage right there. And then also it's one of them stages that morphs and you get to see the other stage where you get to see some of the character arts on the background while you're fighting like that. So that's pretty cool. And they managed to throw other characters that are represented in the Kingdom Hearts series though. So that was really cool to be able to see all that stuff kind of play out though. And it's interesting with the Sora design because there's multiple different games and we know Sora gets older as he progresses in each one of the games though. But they basically took the design from Kingdom Hearts 1 in terms of like his face and and hair and stuff, and that's the same design that he has for all of his alts, and his other alts basically change the costumes. And there's one and there's one alt where it's literally like what is it? It's the river something yeah, the river something odd alt for his costume. And literally every time I look at that, I'm like, no, that is not Sora. That is freaking King Mickey right there. That's King Mickey right there. Like literally, he's straight black and white, and literally looks like from a cartoon out from the '60s. No, anytime I'm fighting a Sora person like that, no, I'm just gonna call him Mickey. Like that's the closest thing we're gonna get to Mickey within Smash Bros. Like that. I'm just keeping it real with y'all here though. But yeah, so overall, I really did love his presentation and stuff. Really super excited to be able to play him whenever he finally does drop out, which from the time that I'm live streaming this podcast, it will be a week from tomorrow. So a week from Monday, he'll be out. And you know what? It's not too much farther away. I mean, that's basically like 8 days away. So literally on October the 18th, the character will drop out and we'll all have it in our hands. So I'm like, oh heck yes. I'm like, let's freaking go. Like I'm so ready for this. I'm freaking so ready for this though. But yeah, so y'all gotta let me know in the comment section down below what all do you think about Sora's inclusion into Smash. And I know it felt bittersweet seeing the final character because we're done. There's no DLC Wave 3. Sora can finally take his well deserved, long needed rest. Because I want him to take a good long vacation. And if he decides to make another game that ain't Smash Brothers, or he ain't doing the prep work for it, please, Sakurai, come over here and do my Kid Icarus Uprising 2, or at least port the 3DS version to the Switch or something like that, and then do my sequel, man, because no one else is going to do it justice like the way how you did the first game on the 3DS. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. But yeah, so overall, some really good stuff in this presentation, but it necessarily wasn't all the stuff that was showcased off in there, because Sakurai actually was the first one that actually let everybody know that, yes, the Kingdom Hearts series first game all the way up to the 10th game, with it being Kingdom Hearts 3, will be playable on the Nintendo Switch. This is something that I've been predicting from year after year after year in my prediction videos. However, I did not think that Sakurai was going to be the one to break the news for us. However, with all good things, there is a catch. And the catch is that it's going to be coming as a cloud game. And that part right there sort of kind of stings me on the wrong foot. I'm like, oh, because if your internet connections is really well, no necessary knock, and I understand it for those that would be playing Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Switch, because the way how that looks on the on the PS4 and the Xbox One, I'm like, okay, that makes sense for it to be a cloud game, because there's no other way. I don't think the Switch would have been able to support Kingdom Hearts 3 and actually be able to run it very smoothly though. However, for like the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 mix that basically include like a bunch of PS2 games and whatnot, though a GBA game and a few other ones here and there, I don't think there was any excuse for that to basically be not to be ported over to the Switch natively. That's the thing that really stings me the wrong way. I mean, now I don't have to be too invested in it since I basically got the whole collection over here as I'm looking over here on my the whole collection for PS4 that I can play on my PS5. Even though I can technically do that, it's still kind of sting for all those users that this might be their only way to be able to go through it and play all the Kingdom Hearts game. And it's kind of interesting, but also fairly nice to where you can say, hey, here's the character. If you hadn't played the character's games, hey, good news, the games are coming along the way. I think that's like one of the few or I think the only presentation that we actually got confirmation of something like that for a third party character that it might be a little harder to go out there and get their games, at least on the same console, that being the Switch. But yeah, so honestly, some really good stuff showcased off in this presentation. That the only thing that stung about it was the cloud gaming part of the thing, where you won't be able to play the games natively on your Switch. But outside of that, Sora being in Smash, really cool, really interesting. And they also mentioned that yes, Sora was the number one most demanded character, even way back when in the Smash 4 days, back with the whole entire Smash ballot, which I'd honestly thought Bayonetta was the number one winner because he never really fully showcased off the full results of that. He sort of kind of kept it hidden. Hence why we were able to kind of get King K. Rool and Ridley up in the game, because I guess Sakurai kept referring to that list when he finally made Ultimate and say, hey, let me get some of the characters that the fans have wanted, and let me put them in this Ultimate version of the game. So yeah, so it's kind of interesting to know that yes, Sora was the number one most demanded character, and I'm like, gosh, I wasn't expecting them to go all the way back to reference the Smash 4 ballot, but that was insane attention to detail right there. I just love that a little bit about Sakurai, because he's a people pleaser. And yes, if this was not the character you necessarily wanted, maybe this is the character you hate, at least be glad that some people, or I get at this point, since this was the number one requested character, the fact that you know what? A lot of people were happy whenever this character was showcased out because it was the number one most demanded character. And I'm like, oh yes, I don't think there could have been any better way, at least for Sakurai to go out and make Smash Ultimate the game that it really was. I mean, shoot, even hashtag Thank You Sakurai was trending on Twitter, and even Sakurai himself addressed it. So I was like, you know what, mad respects to you, man, for being able to make this game, make all this DLC, two waves of DLC, a grand total like 12 extra characters. So we were up in like the high 80s. Like you don't see that big of a roster, that many stages, that much music. Like they had a whole accolades during this presentation of all the accomplishments that Sakurai was able to make. So I was like, dang, I was like, that's just absolutely crazy. So I'm like, yeah, so you know what? Thank you, Sakurai, so much for all the work you're able to do. And just take that that long awaited rest that you really so desperately need. But yeah, man, hats off to you. If I could tip my hat right now, because I don't have a hat on right now at the moment, I would do that because, man, this is absolutely crazy. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, because that's basically it in terms of all the gaming news that I have. And unfortunately, I still don't have a snazzy little transition music or video between my gaming topic news and as leading into so about that show, and we'll go ahead and jump up in it. Maybe I'll get it done at some point though. I just need to sit down and go ahead and do it though. But literally, in terms of shows that I've been going through and watching, I did recently, the other night, manage to finish the most recent Fast and Furious movie, which honestly I thought it was pretty good. I don't know why some people were sort of kind of like they're sort of kind of sick and tired of the series, or just because it's action, it ain't really that good. I mean, you know what? I felt like the characters all did a pretty good job. It's a nice little fun little watch if you just want to see some good action. You don't have to be too crazy invested in terms of the plot or anything like that. But I mean, I think there's like a lot of good stuff that was showcased off within that movie. And I recommend it to anybody that just wants to kind of sit down and have like a good time at it, because I mean, you really can't go wrong with watching a Fast and Furious thing, unless you're just one of those people that just absolutely hates action stuff, which I don't understand how that could be possible or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it on that. Some other things I've been watching lately. I mean, besides my normal anime mix, actually I've been going through and watching Survivor, which is like a series that's on CBS. For the longest time, thanks to COVID, they haven't been able to actually showcase off any episodes. They weren't able to do any footage for it because, with the pandemic and whatnot, though. But I was actually glad the fact that we're able to actually start the series up now. And I'm like, heck yes. And I think at the point of this, I think there was like what, 3 episodes that came out, because the first episode was like a 2 hour season premiere, and then just back into the hour episodes after that though. So I've been having a good time going through and watching that as well. And then also in terms of anything else, I mean, besides that, mostly just anime stuff. I've been kind of going through and watching some stuff off of Funimation. I will have to give a special shout out to Black Clover, because I think between the last podcast I had and this one, it did manage to have its final episode. And goodness, it ain't gonna feel the same without Black Clover, because Black Clover literally started from the bottom. I remember people saying stuff about how they didn't like it because Asa's voice actor was kind of crazy on the yelling. If you watch the Japanese version, which for me personally, I was going through and watching the English dub, and it was the English dub that just recently finished within the past couple of weeks or so. But man, I'm really gonna miss that series. We'll probably have to wait like a whole, gosh, I have to say, uh 2 years, I think. 2 years, I think, for it to, because essentially the anime caught up to the manga where there wasn't that much source material left, hence why Black Clover had to basically come to an end for now. But I'm pretty sure they're going to resume it right back up as soon as there's enough material where we're kind of back at the gap of whenever the anime first originally aired way back in October 2017. Gosh dang, that was like, ooh, shoot, 18, 19, 20, 21, like 4 years ago. Anyway, once there's enough source material where it was sort of kind of the same whenever the anime first started back in October 2017, that's when I sort of kind of expect them to go ahead and start the series up again, because then that'll be like another 3 years worth of content, assuming if the manga keeps having that many chapters up until that point, though. But honestly, that's a really good series. If you're really looking for a good shonen anime, can't highly recommend enough to go through it and watch Black Clover. I mean, there's a lot of good animes I could probably recommend though, but that is definitely one that I had to put up there, because you kind of have to get through the first, kind of first few arcs or whatever though, because for some people, like for me, it was sort of kind of clicking early on, but for some other people, you might have to be a little more patient to kind of get rewarded for what is to come, because that last arc, whole freaking shoot, the fight scenes was crazy, and it seems like a lot of stuff is about to go down on within this most recent arc that we were shown in the anime though. But that's some of the stuff I've been going through and watching though. But y'all gotta let me know in the comment section down below if you've been watching a good show, especially if you've been watching a good anime. Let me know. I might try it out, and who knows, if I really like it, I might talk about it within the what you've been watching segment like that though. But that's basically all I got to say in terms of what I've been watching. So let's jump over to our next segment, that being what have you been playing? All right, so this segment right here, this is where we're going to talk about, since I'm the only one here, what I've been going through and personally playing. And you know what? Without any further ado, I gotta go ahead and start talking about my impressions on Metroid Dread. Now this is a sort of kind of spoiler warning. I'm not gonna talk about the whole entire game because I hadn't gone through and beaten the whole entire game just yet, though. But I will be talking up to the events of the first 3 zones, which is roughly about the first, up to, depending on how fast you move through these sections, up to the first 3 hours of the game. I ain't gonna talk about anything else beyond that. But if you are wary of spoilers, or you hadn't been able to go through the whole game yet, or made it past that point, here's a way to bow out now, because or yeah, this is your way to bow out now. And if you're watching like the video version of this on YouTube, you can kind of skip ahead until where you don't see this as the background image no more, and that's when you know when you're able to kind of hop back up in there. Though, if you're an audio listener, I would say probably tune out for the next 10 to 15 minutes. I will probably have to say, I think that might be just the right amount of time for me to go ahead and talk about my impressions on Metroid Dread, though. Now is everybody gone that doesn't want to be here? The people that do be here, y'all the dedicated fan base that managed to get your hands on the game around launch weekend, ready to kind of dive up in it. Let's go ahead and jump up in it though. So yes, Metroid Dread has finally came out, and gosh by golly, this game is freaking insane. I love every single little bit of this game that I've been playing up to at this moment. I mean, shoot, even starting off the game with the cutscene, how it kind of came up into play, and how it did sort of kind of this recap, and you got to see Samus kind of driving around, and you know, in our sort of kind of familiar orange suit and whatnot though, and kind of just calling or flying through the galaxy and whatever though. I just love the cutscenes that are represented in this game. It sort of kind of reminds me, and there are a lot of parallels to this and what was Samus Returns, because it kind of makes sense because Mercury Steam worked on Samus Returns and then they turned around and worked on this though. And I won't say anything else beyond that, but if you're one of those people that got up to that certain point in the story, then you probably know what I might be referencing or sort of kind of beating around the bush on. But enough of that though. Literally the first moment where we got to see the start of the game, and it was like a distress signal because Samus was kind of brought to this new planet ZDR, because literally the Federation got some kind of a video feed of an ex-parasite that was spotted on this planet ZDR. Hence they send Samus over there because she's the only one that's immune to the ex-parasite thanks to the DNA that was incorporated to her, way back in Metroid Fusion. So I was like, oh, okay. So you know, we kind of got some base premises of how Samus was brought over to this planet though. But literally, right out the gate, she runs against this weird sort of kind of looking Chozo, and I was like, hold the phone. I thought the Chozo was a sort of kind of they were sort of kind of a warrior race from what we basically sort of kind of got from the history and lore of of Metroid and stuff, but I didn't think they were necessarily flat out evil, so to say. But this one, you get some different vibes from him. This dude literally went up in there. Samus was at full power during this fight, but she could barely do anything against this dude. I was like, what the freak? And then somehow, miraculously, she survives. Don't know how this Chozo didn't kill her right on the spot. But, at that point, she was stripped of all of her powers, which, gosh, my God, it's like the fifth time Samus said this has basically happened. But yes, we start going through and maneuvering through the planet and stuff like that. And I just been loving all the little things that they've been doing with a certain kind of power ups and stuff and all of this stuff. Like literally that slide tackle. One of the first things that was kind of introduced in the game because you didn't necessarily get the morph ball this early in the game. You kind of got it a little bit later. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was interesting nonetheless because I was like, man, I was zipping, sliding through. The stuff felt so good. It felt good to have that 360 aiming like we had in Samus Returns. And I was like, man, it just felt such a good game. But oh, that groundbreaker right there, the Emmys. I gotta talk about them Emmys, because them Emmys though, whole freaking shoot. Man, like you talking about having your heart racing, it's not nearly as bad as like the encounters with the SAX that you had back in Metroid Fusion, because at least with that, you knew when you stepped into an area that might have had it because you kind of heard its footsteps, and it was rare and far between. And when it did, it was kind of a straightforward path. It did what it needed to do, and it was basically out of there. No, with these Emmys, when you step in through those doors, you're gonna get hunt down from the word go. And I was like, whole freaking shit. So ooh man, I remember the first time I ran into an Emmy, and I was running for dear life. I was like, you kind of have to know exactly how you're maneuvering around, within the Emmy zones. Like, you kind of have to scout it, sort of kind of flash your map up, at times, which is kind of interesting because they give you the mini map in the top right corner, so you have an idea of where you're going, before you kind of necessarily run up in there. And you can actually enlarge it by hitting the D pad in a certain direction to kind of make it bigger, though, if you're standing still. But you got to know where you're going from point A to point B real fast. Because those Emmys, they are ruthless. The AI on those things are pretty supreme, and it will maneuver and find its way to you. Even if you're making like the lightest bit of like footsteps, uh, it will track on that noise and it will hear you. If you stay perfectly still, it will just roam a certain path and it might happen to stumble across you. But the second you start making noise, it will slowly start working its way towards you. Especially those little white little things that sort of kind of float around. And if you get too close to it, it blows up. And it's basically like a small little signal flare for the enemy to say, hey, within this proximity, I notice and I detect a movement. And these enemies are interesting because they were sent to planet ZDR. They extract like certain life forms to kind of get their DNA because they were trying to use them to basically stop the X parasite and essentially, get rid of the problem or whatever though. But when those Emmys went offline, that's how they're kind of here and they're kind of being sent after Samus by us by something. We didn't know necessarily at this point in the game what sent them on there though, but it's something on that planet that basically told them, hey, hunt down Samus no matter what you do. And I was like, oh gosh. And there's like little tiny window frames that you're able to actually kind of break out of the Emmy's grasp whenever it first tries to capture you, because there's two different chances that you're able to parry it in the small little window frame for you to be able to break out of it is extremely small. Like it is real small. And literally, I think Adam, whenever you're kind of going through and uploading your information at certain points throughout the game, he literally is like, hey, you get captured by an enemy, there's like a 99% chance that you might get caught. I was like, or 99% chance you get caught, 1% you might be able to get away or whatever though. I think the second time I got caught, I actually managed to pull the sequence off where I was able to counter it, and it allows you to stun it. You can slide up underneath it and try to get away. And I was like, dang, it feels so good whenever you're doing it though. But they throw the timing off on it ever so slightly, or like it attacks you in different kind of speeds or whatever though whenever it first runs up on you though. But there's ways to sort of kind of avoid it. You can kind of officially run away and get out of this like yellow search area or whatever though. Or if you have the phantom cloak ability, whenever you finally get that, you can kind of use that to kind of psych out an enemy and kind of put it off and have it go off the off beaten path and try to, you can essentially lose an enemy like that. I hate it during those one little moments where you kind of, you might be like attaching yourself to like a magnetic wall or whatever though, and the enemy just happens to either stand up or barely touch you or goes up on the ceiling to walk, and then it bumps up into you, and then that's it. And I'm like, oh shoot, I felt real bad whenever those little moments happen out like that. But yeah, it's little things like that where those little things felt frustrating. However, the bosses themselves are really cool, and I really love the bosses that I fought so far. That first boss kind of felt pretty good like that, and then fighting Kraid and whatnot though, I was like, holy shoot. Like, dude, like, I don't know what that whoever chained that boy up must have some extreme power because there's no way you just chain up Kraid like that. Like, there's just no way. But Kraid was mad the second it saw Samus like that. Like, oh shoot. Even though I'm pretty sure that ain't the same Kraid or anything like that though. But my goodness, that was in the same boss fight right there. And then all the different power. Oh goodness, the power ups that you're getting throughout the game, it just feels so good, so fluid and stuff. Of course, you have to do some backtracking here and there, going from one area because when you think you hit a wall, you literally have to go back to like the first zone and get like some other power up or some kind of ability or something like that though. So the traversing through the game feels pretty good. You have like teleporters and stuff that you're able to zip around and stuff. So overall, I'm getting a very good feeling from this game. I'm currently, I want to say maybe 6 hours into the gameplay, I would have to say. It's kind of weird whenever you're tracking the game time play hours of this. It's like, because you might be struggling, so it resets on your saves, but I don't think it necessarily saves that time of how long you're playing on your actual official hours played whenever you actually have a save file up on this thing though. But yeah, so far I think I want to say I'm roughly around 6 hours or so. I managed to get to the was it the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, either the fifth or the sixth zone, one of those two. And I was like, oh, okay. It was after a very dramatic sequence, like very dramatic. Like it was like game changing turning, like the first game changing turning point. So you probably got like a reference if you got to that point. The part that I'm talking about, where it talks about the history and lore after meeting something. I would say something. So I think that's enough context clues to know exactly where I'm at. Not too far after that point is where I'm currently at in the story though. But that's basically where I'm at the moment right now though. But overall, this is a phenomenal game. I was a little bit upset that I managed to get this game a little bit later because I did get the special edition. and it did not show up on Friday. And I bought it from Walmart. It showed up on Saturday, so that's how I had to do my launch stream. It wasn't really like a launch stream at that point. It's more like a launch weekend stream that I had to basically do, but that's why I had to do it on Saturday instead of Friday. However, the good thing is I managed to get a really good deal from it from Walmart, because apparently for all the people that placed pre-orders for that, Walmart just came up out of nowhere and said, hey, a competitor price match was applied to this, so we took 30 something odd dollars off of your order. So I only had to pay roughly around 53 bucks or so for it, which was even cheaper than the standard edition of the game alone. I was like, oh shoot. So that might have been like the biggest steal for some kind of PC and gamer related thing that I have ever gotten, especially in terms of a special edition or a limited edition or something like that. So yeah, that did make me feel pretty good. And I also managed to be lucky enough to snag the amiibos on launch day. That was the only thing I was able to get on launch day though. But the Emmy amiibo looks absolutely sick. And the Samus amiibo itself looks pretty cool as well. Maybe not as cool as the Samus Returns amiibo, because I really do love that one though, but it's still cool nonetheless. I'm glad I managed to get my hands up on them though, because they were selling out like hotcakes and whatnot though. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say on Metroid Dread in terms of like my overall impressions and stuff. I have a sneaking suspicion after I'm done playing this game, I might sort of kind of do a review, sort of kind of discussion, like all out, like spoilers everywhere for all the people that would have potentially gone through and played through the whole entire game at that point. And I might do that discussion with Sonic Q, because I know Sonic Q really likes his Metroid lore and stuff. Might even get Bronto in there, because Bronto's one of my good friends. Doesn't really talk, or is like on most of my videos or whatever though. But I know he really does like himself some Metroid though. So maybe I might just sit down with them one day, just kind of discuss our overall thoughts on Metroid. And I might just put that as like a discussion on my video, or put it as a discussion on my channel at some point. But kind of stay tuned to my Twitter account if you're watching this on my if you're watching this on one of the podcast server, at Megazard_X. That gets in contact with my Twitter account, and you can go from there to kind of check out my YouTube and whatnot though. But yeah, honestly, some really good stuff within Metroid. I really do want to talk about it a whole lot more once I finally do manage to go through and play through the whole entire game. But what I've been playing so far has been absolutely phenomenal. Let's try to get this game over 3 million sales, so that way, I know it's on the Spawncast. If you happen to be one of those people that watch RGT 85 or Spawnway, him doing his news, you know his daily news and whatnot though, because if it sells over 3 million, he has to RGT has to literally review Balan Wonderworld. I know that would be a funny little thing to be able to go through and watch him do like that though. But it's just little things like that. But overall, I do want this to be the best and highest selling Metroid game, because it is the fifth game to a 5 long part game series that basically tells the whole entire saga of the Metroids in general. Not sure exactly where Metroid will go in terms of its direction after the fact, in terms of its story and lore and whatnot though, but that is something we'll probably talk about in a discussion video, hopefully that will go up on my channel at some point once I beat the game though. But that's basically all I have to say on Metroid Dread and my thoughts on it in terms of my impressions though. Now, some other games I've been going through and recently playing, and yes, this is the part where if you happen to be listening, hey, you can come back, because I'm done talking about Metroid Dread at the moment though. But yes, I've actually been going through, and I actually managed to actually beat Spider-Man Spider-Man PS4 version fairly recently, and I had an absolutely phenomenal time with that game. I mean, the swinging controls in it were absolutely fantastic, and you know what? It felt good playing this, knowing shortly before this we got confirmation that Spider-Man 2 will be coming out. Probably that's going to be a PS5 only exclusive. But yes, that game's absolutely amazing. I will try to go through and play the DLC at some later point whenever I do manage to get the time though, but I really did like my experience with it. It's a solid PlayStation game, if I have to say so myself. Yeah, it kind of makes sense why that one's a system seller, that one that kind of moves units and whatnot though. So yeah, so I really been enjoying that. And I think before that I finished Metroid Zero Mission, as you can probably tell if you looked on my channel, where I went through and played through the whole series of that. And the one I played before that that I finished was Kingdom Hearts, which I did sort of kind of mention when I talked about Sora being in Smash though. But yeah, those are like some of the few recent games that I finished here recently that I've been playing, along with some of the other GameCube games I've been going through and collecting. Which I do need to go through and record a few more sessions of some other games I recently have gotten. Throw them up on my channel for those Game and Watch series ones. My Mario Kart Double Dash one actually did fairly well going through and trying to unlock Petey Piranha and King Boo on that one though. So I thought that one did fairly well in terms of that video though. But yeah, that's basically all of the stuff I've been playing most recently, primarily on my Switch, with a little stuff that I've been playing on my PS5 though. But that's basically gonna do it for that segment though. So let's go ahead and move on to my very last segment for this ZardCast podcast, that being community questions. All right, so last time, the last podcast that I normally would have done, technically, it got canceled because of, gosh, I'm trying to remember exactly why it got canceled. Something popped up where I wasn't able to actually do the podcast or whatever though. But yes, I do have some questions that were saved from the previous one, and I'll go ahead and take the time out now to go through and read these right now. I think I got three of them up in my query right now though, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer these real quick. So one of my friends, Yoshi, he managed to ask, what do you think about the new Bayonetta design? And this is kind of in response to the new Nintendo Direct that we recently got back in September. Now, the new Bayonetta design, I'll have to say, it looks fairly interesting. I kind of like, I kind of dig it. It sort of kind of makes her look a little younger with the sort of kind of braids that she has up in her hair. It kind of reminds me of like a younger elementary school student that would normally kind of braid their hair up like that. Kind of had that simple but kind of younger design with it though. I don't know. I was like, it's okay. It's not crazy or anything super sexy like that for like Bayonetta 1 or 2 or whatever though. I really didn't like Bayonetta 2's hair design at all, period. I just had to put that out there though. But honestly, it's okay. It ain't doing wonders for me, but it seems okay enough for me to be able to go through and just kind of appreciate that design or whatever though. So that's honestly what I have to think on that though. And then Sonic um was my second person to ask another question. He asked, is Chocobo Racer the new Mario Kart killer? Now for that, I would have to say not necessarily no, but it would be funny if it really was, because I mean, shoot, how long have we gone without technically not getting the next Mario Kart 9? Because I mean, they just ported 8 Deluxe over to the Switch and whatnot though. But yeah, it's definitely not the next Mario Kart killer. But I am curious to see how many sales will Chocobo Mystery Dungeon actually manage to go through and actually sell. So that would be interesting to kind of see on it. Be able to kind of see how it plays out though. But I don't think it's gonna be a game that I would necessarily personally get. But if one of my friends happened to, download it, like Alexis or something like that, since, we share accounts and whatnot, though, I mean, I'll be willing to kind of just dabble with it and kind of give it a try or whatever, though. But I mean, it seems like a simple but somewhat sort of kind of a fun little game right there. So nothing too crazy, but I think it's all right for what it is, though. And then let's go ahead and move on to the very last question that I have up in here in my query. Monado Boy asks, who do you think was responsible for choosing the voice actors for the Mario movie? And I'm like, I honestly have no idea, because I definitely know that Miyamoto was not the one to choose this. Like I have a really strong suspicion that yes, it probably was the Hollywood studios people being like, hey, you know what? For what you're giving us, we think this, and this is gonna be some good picks. Like literally, Chris Evans though, like what the freak? And oh shoot, every time I just think about it, this brings like a big smile up on my face. Like literally, Jack Black as Bowser, like I don't know who came up with that all star cast of characters right there. Like Chris Pratt. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it at all. This is gonna be a legendary movie for better or for worse. I don't care how good or how bad it is. It's still gonna be good nonetheless because of this all-star A cast. I mean, it's gonna be interesting seeing like characters like Donkey Kong sound like like a full-grown old man or whatever. Though, like I don't know how this is all gonna play out. In terms of the plot and stuff, it seems like it's definitely going to be like an origin story movie, though. But yes, back to your question, I I just think it was the Hollywood Studios people, like Illumination, literally came up with these picks, and literally it's probably just writing letters to people say, "Hey, will you join the movie? Will you join the movie? Will you join the movie?" And then some probably people said yes, some probably said no or whatever. No, but I honestly think that's the way how it most likely was. Highly likely was probably the way how it was handled though. But yeah, that's basically all I have to answer on that question though. But yeah, I'd like to thank y'all for answering or sending those questions my way. If y'all happen to have any other questions that you want to have answer on the next podcast series for the next show, you can drop the questions. You can either at me on my Twitter at Megazard_X. You can also reply to any, or you can reply to the bottom of only this video here, and I'll take all of the questions from this video and I'll incorporate them into the next session as well. So that's a couple of ways how you can kind of go about if you want to ask me a question and have it be answered either from me or it'll always be me, and then maybe whoever other guests are here on my podcast session for that night though. But yeah, that's basically gonna do it for the question segment though, and that's also going to do it for basically the rest of the show for tonight though. So that's all the content I have for y'all tonight. And honestly, we talked about some pretty good stuff. I think I managed to last for about an hour or so, and that's typically usually the case when it's only just me. Don't know how I managed to able to talk for about an hour straight though, but I managed to pull it off. Just got just enough water up in here to just kind of rehydrate my vocal cords just enough to be able to kind of just sit down and talk to y'all about all the things I really want to talk about from the gaming news, pop culture segment, answer some of y'all's questions, what I've been playing, what I've been watching, all that whole 9 yards stuff. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all of you think about all of these interesting topics that I had to talk about tonight. The pop culture segment. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, are you one of those people that sort of kind of digging that new CGI sort of kind of look that they're going with it, or is that really kind of off-putting or whatever though? And then in terms of the gaming news, what do you think about Sora finally being represented in Smash Bros. Ultimate and it being the final character in a long-running series that literally started in 2018 to go all the way up into the year of 2021 when we all are about to say it's all said and done. 3 whole years that we got to see Smash Bros. Ultimate be a somewhat active game, and it's all coming down to an end with Sora's inclusion in Smash Bros. Ultimate. And then, how do you feel about the DK section being added into Super Nintendo World for Universal Studios Japan? Me personally, I love it. The only thing I hate about it is the fact that it's not over there in Universal Studios right now, and I really do need it right now, so I can go over there, bring my 2 suitcases over there, go to down there, have my little trip over there, make sure to get my clothes in one, bring back my souvenirs in the other, and that way I can come back over here and gloat and show you all these amazing pictures. That's what I'm disappointed about. But everything else I really do love about all of the future promises for the theme park as we go along in the future, though. And then lastly, have you been one of those people that managed to get your hands on Metroid Dread within its opening launch weekend? And if you hadn't, what the heck are you doing? You need to go out there and get that game right now because Metroid ain't gonna sell over 3 million copies by itself. Because us hardcore fans are gonna pull our own weight. We need a few of y'all casuals to go out there and just kind of take a dip in the pool and just kind of go off of my words and just trust me on this. Like this is gonna be a crazy sick game. If you're looking for a game that has a little bit of a challenge to it, because you are gonna get maybe this tad bit frustrated on some of them bosses. Hey, you know what? It can be it can be revolutionary. It could cause you to go back and play any of the other past games within the Metroid series, like Metroid Zero Mission, really good game. Yeah, you have Samus Returns on the 3DS, phenomenal. A lot of references to that in Metroid Dread, Super Metroid, and then obviously Metroid Fusion. You got a way to play those games. Go through and play them if you're worried about wanting to play those games before Dread. You can do that, whatever. No, but go out there and get some copies of Metroid Dread and get Metroid back up to the place where it needs to be with the other Nintendo IPs and stuff like that, though. Just a phenomenal series, though. But that's basically going to do it in terms of my ZardCast podcast episode 18. But if you really like this video, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things gamer related, pop culture segment related, and everything else in between that I feel like talking about, reviewing, discussing, the whole 9 yards, y'all. So remember, y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.